Hey everybody, and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to be doing some warm colors. The next video will be featuring some cool colors, and the colors that I'm using are a little bit special to me because I made them. And I don't mean that I just mixed some colors, I mean that I made the paints from scratch. So started with the binder, mixed my own binder, and then added the pigments. So I'm going to be doing, like I said, warm colors first. Here are the colors. And you'll see that some of them only have a little tiny bit, like this one right here. That was some that I had left over from a bigger batch, and I just want to use it to do my demo because I really don't need a whole lot to do this. And then some of these are paints like this one where I had done other paints and you know, I didn't have enough to fill up that last pan. So these are ones that I've saved for myself, and what I'm doing right now is putting water in each of them and letting that soak in really nicely before I begin. So that's an important step, a super important step before you begin with any watercolor, because they're watercolors, hence, you know, the name. So you want to make sure to make them properly hydrated before you work with them. The more time they have to sit before they're completely dry, the more intense the color will be, the more rich and vibrant it will be. All right, so I'm going to start with this one, and I may go back over some of the colors depending, because some of the colors are pretty light. But we have some interesting things here. I'm going to start with this one. Just this little one because it's been sitting here the longest. And this one is a color shift color. All right. So what that means is it looks one way in the pan. These are little half pans. It looks one way in the pan, but when you paint with it, it's going to look like something entirely different. So with this one, it has a reddish brown background, or undertone rather. And so that's kind of an interesting thing. You don't see that as much in this pan. Now, if I want to, by the time I'm done, I can go back to this. It might not be completely dry by then, but I can go back to this and put another layer and make it more intense. And the more layers I do, the more it'll look like this. I'm going to skip a spot because I want to let it to dry out just a little bit here. So I'm going to go with this nice copper. Now, when I make these paints, they are done with mica powder. Mica is what gives it that nice shimmer and sheen. All of my paints so far have mica powder. I'll be making some without it in the future, but for right now, this is what I'm focusing on. With this mica powder, it's really important that you double check where you're getting it from if you're making your own and anything, because some places they are not ethical with their mica, and so they use child labor. You want to make sure that you're not using one that is an unethical child labor source. So I always double check my labels. I double check the company and make sure that they are not one of the ones that do that. So double check where you're getting things from. You never know. Okay, so the next color I'm going to try is this nice peach, and I'm kind of going through them quickly because I have a lot to do, and if I talk too much about them, one of the things I found out is I go on for way too long and the video ends up being huge. We don't want that, right? All right, so one of the cool things about this color is that if I use it really nice and thin, let me just use it on the back of a scrap paper over here. If I use it really thin, when it dries, I'm going to get some nice shimmer in there. So I'll look at that again in just a moment. All right. Actually, maybe I'll just put it off to the side here because this isn't just my experiment, so it doesn't really matter that much. So there we go. So that way we have that. And if I go out of the lines like I did on this one, not too big of a deal. Like I said, this is just my experiment. So not trying to be too perfect with it, but you know, there it is. All right, so the next color I want to demo, let's see. I will do this one. Now this one appears to be yellow. It's a nice yellow mica, but I added a lot of green when I was making it, so it does have a bit of a lime tint to it, which is kind of fun. I'll go ahead and put that one right here. And I'll be very careful when I'm going next to the other one because I don't want to get bleed. If I do, oh well, but still I'm not going to do it on purpose. And it looks like I did get a little bit, but that's all right. It's not too bad. And what I mean by bleed is when one color goes into the other color. All right, so the next one is another one of the color shifts. And this one is really interesting because it's very similar to this one, the first one that I did, in that it appears kind of a greenish gold, like a dark greenish gold, but when I put it on the paper, it has a different hue. It's rather red in tone. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And I'm just demoing these because I've enjoyed making them, and I thought you guys might enjoy seeing, you know, what they ended up looking like if you've been following along. I'll have some of these available at some point when things calm down a little bit more, and you'll be able to experiment with them and have some fun of your own. All right, so my next color is one that you're actually not going to see available for a long time because I have some other colors I want to experiment with. And this one was one of my first batches, one of my first colors that I made, and it's a really deep metallic red. Now, why would you not see that? It's a lovely color. It's great. Well, my binder was not the way I wanted it on the first try. And while it rehydrates well, it just doesn't do what I want it to overall. So I'm going to demo it just for fun, but I'm not going to sell that one until I, you know, remake it. So that's a nice metallic red. And last but definitely not least, I have this nice rose gold. Rose gold was really popular there for a while. I think it still is pretty popular, but it's one of my favorites of the set. There was a rose gold pigment and mica that I got, and then I just added more gold to it until I got it to the intensity that I wanted. So it's kind of my own little mix here. It's not just a straight out of the jar mix. Most of my colors aren't. There's a couple of them that I just fall in love with what's there already, but for the most part I try to add a little something to it just for my sake. And you can see I'm still getting some color bleed there in a couple places, and that's all right. Just experimenting. But so those are my colors. I did say I would go back over this one when I was done, so let's do that now. And you'll be able to see the intensity just pop up a little bit more. Yeah, nice and rich. And if I do that again with the brownish color here, you're going to see that be a little bit more rich too. But it looks like it's still a little bit too wet for me to do that. That's okay. So just know that the more that you do with that one, the closer it's going to be to its original color. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed that video. The next one is going to be on my Cool Color set. And here's a little preview of the colors we'll be working with next time. You can see also this one is a little bit done. They're drying pretty well. All right, have a great day.